How is everyone doing today? And in this video, we are going to be talking about one of the characters in specific when it comes to the version 1.2 update. And with the live stream, we were able to see a little bit of their kit. And I know I'm going to be saying this already, especially because we're this short into the video. Yeah, Caesar King is going to be a literal, and I mean without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, must pull in this game. And it's crazy to see that we have a character that is this strong already. And I will be explaining myself, of course, with Caesar King and how strong she's going to be, especially because she is going to be physical with the defense role, which we haven't seen a lot of shine for the defense role in a good minute, especially because we only had Ben at the start, which was one character. Seth came in and did absolute work with revitalizing the way the defense is played, and now we have Caesar coming into the game, who is going to be monumental for any type of character, any type of team, and also for the future of Zenless Zone Zero. So let's go ahead and get into the game, and let's start talking about what I'm talking about. So for Caesar specifically, we know from the stream itself that she is going to have a perfect parry, so it stops enemies from attacking you as much, as staggers them. Really good things will go all around. And not only that, you also can debuff them once you parry them, which is a pretty big thing. And that debuff does not apply only to the character that you're parrying, but in an area of effect around it as well, which I think is a really good thing for her. Another thing that we are going to see with Caesar King is that she has a shield, and it's a little bit different than the shield that Seth and Ben provide, because Seth and Ben provide a shield that acts more like added HP rather than an actual shield. And Caesar King's shield actually goes into, which we don't know how the shield strength is or how it's going to work, but we do know that when she does pop her shield and it is given to other allies, you are able to have an insane amount of anti-interrupt where enemies can't really do anything to you. Enemies can't stagger you, enemies can't stun you, enemies can't hurt you. So this is an actual big body shield that is going to be absolutely amazing for anybody in this game, so that you don't have to worry about what the enemies are doing, but you are able to go ahead and DPS them out the way you want to, which I think is a super strong thing. And to not also include that her team passive makes it so that she's basically universal with every character in the game, because all her conditions is if they are able to proc a defensive assist, which is practically everybody in the game, then they get a parry effect, and that's going to allow them to keep the shield, that's going to allow them to get an attack boost, and that's overall a really good thing. We are seeing one of the strongest characters come into Zenless Zone Zero, and as you may know, again from what I'm saying, is that she's going to be able to provide a lot of value in so many different teams rather than just her own. So this isn't going to be a character where she's going to be confined to just the Sons of Kaladin faction, where it's just Lucy, where it's just Piper, where it's just Lighter, or any of the other characters like Bernice. She's not going to be just with them. Will they have the best synergy? Probably so, because how easy it is to proc the faction or able to parry bonus, which is a pretty big thing for her. When it comes to any other team, you can still slot them in. You have characters like Ellen, you have a character with Lycan, and then you go ahead and put in someone like Caesar. You're able to proc not only the buffs from Caesar from the team passive, but you're also able to provide this nasty shield that she's going to be giving with an attack bonus, with a debuff onto the enemy, and so much more that's happening. And of course, that isn't already considering all the stuff that we're looking towards when it comes to what she has in her ultimate and all of her other skills. Same thing goes for characters like Zhu Yin. You have a character like Zhu Yin, we have Qing Yi, throw in Caesar, now you have the full plethora of utility that you could use in the game. You have a DPS, you have your stunner, and now you have a shielder to help you do massive amounts of DPS, massive amounts of sustain, without having to worry about anything that the enemy is doing. And it's kind of like a safeguard to help you not have to worry about a lot of mechanics that the boss is throwing out. Same thing goes for Jane. I think Jane is by far going to be one of the strongest units with her, just because they do share physical, and as you may know with Jane actually allows other physical anomaly characters to be able to proc their own crit assault as well. So it's a pretty big thing to have a lot of these synergies happen, and the fact that Caesar is able to have her team passive, which is literally, if they have a defensive assist, then boom, you have a character that's able to do it. So if you proc this as soon as you're about to be attacked, you get Caesar's buff. So this means that almost everybody in the game is possible to act up on having Caesar's shield and Caesar's buffs that she gets from her team synergy, which she seems like to be absolutely overwhelmingly strong character. Anti-interrupt shield, which you cannot be staggered, you can be hit out of. You have characters that are able to get attack bonuses from Caesar. You have a debuff that can be onto the enemy. you have what seems to be a CC grouping ultimate, which seems absolutely nasty if that's the case, especially because all we know is that grouping characters in this game are absolutely annoying for the enemies, not for us. When it comes to having like Kazuha in the game, when it comes to having any other character that's able to group up a bunch of enemies, we all know how annoying it is when they start scattering out. You have to run towards one enemy, run towards the other, and then you can finally go ahead and fight the boss because it took you so much time to run back and forth. With Caesar, if I read it right, using that ultimate and seeing what she's able to do, it looks like she's able to do a string of attacks that allow her to pull in enemies, which is going to allow you to just go ahead and go on your DPS and do massive amounts of damage, clearing out the whole field without having to worry about all of these guys running around and wasting your time before in Shield defense, which I think is a really cool thing. Now, on to the premise, of course, because we've already talked about insane amounts of stuff that comes from Caesar from a base kit wise. Her being a must pull is, in what I would say, me personally, worth the rating, just because a lot of people don't need to have Caesar. You don't have to get her if you don't care about having a shield that's going to help you avoid mechanics. Have a shield that's going to make, I guess you could say, the game easier. She will literally be a difficulty slider down character for the game, just because you're ignoring mechanics now. You're ignoring the parry mechanic. You're ignoring the damage that the enemies are doing. You're just doing straight DPS. So this lets you brute force a lot of the content. If you're looking for something like that, must pull. She's the best character in the game by far. I still think she will be the best character in the game, even over a lot of our DPSs, because we all know supports, sustains, they last longer than DPSs, and we've already seen that with characters like Ellen, where she effectively already has gotten quote-unquote power creep. Not really. She's still one of the best characters in the game for sure. It's just that when you look at Ellen versus the explosive potential Juyin, Juyin does so much more and is able to do so much damage in so much less time. While we look at characters like Jane, Jane's out here putting out numbers that are similar to Juyin, maybe even more. And then you're also able to not have to worry about the enemy being stunned, because anomaly, you don't have to worry about that. You proc the reaction, which is assault, you proc the disorder, so that's even more extra damage, and it's just a crap ton of extra added benefits when it comes to having these DPSs. So looking at how these DPSs are already creeping up on each other's value, someone like Caesar is going to be here for a very long time, and the character I see people pulling every single time she comes back on a rerun, just because of how much utility that she has. Now again, if you don't want Jane, it's 100% understandable. Not Jane, Caesar is 100% understandable. Just because, like I said, she is effectively going to be a difficulty slider down option for the game. Just because you're avoiding a lot of mechanics, you're giving yourself a crap ton of boost, and that shield is just going to be godly for what it is. When it comes to not wanting Caesar, it's 100% understandable, because you can technically just play Zenless the way you have been playing it. With the teams you've been playing, you don't necessarily need Caesar, because if you're already dodging, you're already parrying, you already know these enemies' attack patterns, it's kind of no reason to have that shield, because it's technically never going to be used. So for the most part, Caesar is going to be one of the best characters in the game for sure. The determinant if it's a must pull or not is definitely, do you want an overpowered character who's effectively just never going to let you take damage? Or do you just want to skip her and then get all the other DPSs, all the other supports, and play the Zenless the way you've been playing it for now? And on honesty, it's a playstyle thing. Doesn't really matter effectively how you want to play with Caesar. She's still going to be inevitably the best character in the game by far, without a doubt, over all these characters that we know of so far, even over Bernice, who I also think is a very strong character that we are going to be talking about in another video. Caesar's going to be number one. It just depends. Are you specifically wanting to play with Caesar on your account, on your team? Maybe Caesar's going to be there to help out the team that you don't have as built. Let's say you've been playing with Ellen and Lycan, let's say for the most part, and that team is really strong. You have Sokaku, you have a full-on ice team. And then now you have someone like Jane. Jane, you don't necessarily have the best supports. You don't have Seth built. You don't have any of the other crazier characters built. So what you do is you pop Caesar onto the team, and now Caesar effectively is going to help bring up the value, help bring up the power of the other team that you don't have as much investment towards, which is going to help them clear a little bit faster. Versus something like plopping it onto an already existing team that you already have with, let's say, something like Ellen, Lycan, and also Sokaku. You can do Jane, let's say Nicole maybe, and then let's throw in something like having Caesar inside that team as well. So Caesar can act as a lot of different buffers, whether it wants to be a difficulty slider down, being able to bring up the power of one team over another team, and just so much more. She has a lot of potential and seems to be like one of the craziest characters we're going to be seeing in a long time for this game, and I cannot wait to see how that's going to pan out. But other than that, that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know what y'all guys think about Caesar. I think she's going to be absolutely amazing, one of the strongest characters by far in this game. But other than that, we'll have to wait and see for when we get to showcase her. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.